welcome to another episode of a San Francisco Conservative, a new podcast series. I am your host or co-host. I'm a longtime journalist from CBS News, CNN, Good Morning America, and so on. And I love great conversation. I love going right to the source of great ideas. And that is why I love being engaged in conversation with Mr. David Parker, who is in San Francisco, author of Income and Wealth and a San Francisco conservative. Hey, David, how are you today?
I'm fine. Thanks, Tom.
Great. Thanks for joining us yet again. And today I really wanted to zero in on a subject that I know is near and dear to your heart and that you have a very impressive track record with respect to, and that is real estate investing. I mean, take us back to, when you were a teacher getting started, somehow, Oprah calls them aha moments, but the light bulb went on and somehow you said, I think I should start investing in real estate. And you've done that for decades and you're amazing at it. And I think our audience can learn a thing or two from you in this regard.
Well, I started off as a school teacher and I was so young at the time. And one of my former teachers was in the school that I was teaching at. And he pointed his finger at me. The first thing you do is buy a house. Don't talk to me until you bought a house. That set me back. Okay. So I saved $1,500. And yes, I was going to go buy, put 10% down on a house. It was a little less expensive in those days. And then talking to the real estate agent, who was an older person doing this for fun, I think. And I realized he didn't have very good answers to questions. He was just holding the house open. And I realized I had some intuition for this business and asked him, well, how do you get a real estate license? Because your commission is my whole down payment. I just sweated 3 years to save that $1,500. He says, just go to real estate school. You take 10 lessons. Are you 18? Yeah. You got a green card? Yeah. That's all you need. And then your fortune is made. And then I started to work for an office. And after a few months, the broker says, you're not an agent. I don't want you here. You're an investor. You think and talk like an investor. You don't talk like an agent. I go, aha, okay. In 1974, I was getting started, and the oil embargo and real estate came to a halt, and interest rates doubled from 5 to 10 or 11%. Deals came to a halt. So I proposed to, I had a buyer, and I proposed to him, just offer the seller a note, nothing down, take over the loan that's on it, see if that happens. And he wrote it up, and the buyer chickened out. The seller said, yeah. What? I took it. I go, aha, that's how it works. Just give people a note for their property. You don't need any down payment. That is a perfect leveraged buyout. And that's who I am, a leveraged buyout king. And that's from day one. Wow. But that's how it works. And you just think about it, there's variations and variations on that, but that's the essence. Yeah. You give the seller his own equity for the down payment.
Were your fellow teachers doing this also, or were you doing this really on your own?
I suppose myself, but I would advise teachers who were thinking about buying a house, oh, it's too expensive and stuff. Just don't think about it. Just buy the house. 10 years from now, it won't seem like it's so expensive. Just do it. And I'll help you leverage into it the best you can. And to this day, for a long time, I would get teachers calling me, Mr. Parker, thank you for making me buy a house, because real estate prices skyrocketed afterward. And I would have been just like my other fellow teachers, renting an apartment to this day. So
yeah. I always love how you can reassure us. I mean, we're living in a time right now when a lot of people are panicking about the inflation rate and panicking about a coming recession and panicking about a million different things. But you remind us about the way that, economic principles really work, right?
That's right. I don't believe there's any reason to panic. What we have is not real inflation. We have prices going up. And that's a nice word to use because inflation is bad. And so it scares people a little bit. but we have a supply problem in the world. I went to buy a pair of running shoes from at a store, and it didn't have my size. I have to order it for you, he says. He asked me, how long do you think it's going to take for you to get those shoes in? I says, 30 days? Yeah, 30 years. A year.
Yeah, yeah.
These running shoes happen to be made in China, and factories are closed. They're locking down, and if they open up again, there's orders way ahead of you because it's been backed up since COVID for 3 or 4 years. So you're not getting those shoes for a year or so. So that is demand is more than supply, and that will push price up. That's basic economics. When the supply chain comes back to equilibrium, when you can just order a pair of shoes and you get it in 2 weeks, the prices will come down. That's just pure, in my opinion. So when if that was not the reason, if it was really inflation, yikes, we're ready for a bust for sure. But that's not the reason. So I'm predicting no crash.
Okay. Okay. And I don't know if this is shifting gears a little bit, still talking about economic principles, obviously, but I heard a conversation you had recently. I know you're a great jazz musician also. You wear many hats, and you were talking about how a lot of the ways you approach striking a deal with someone, whether it's buying, residential property or warehouse or what have you, you're very creative in your approach, right?
Yeah, but my public school teaching, my jazz performance, my writing, and business. One thing they have in common is a certain spontaneity to the whole thing, and deals are made, they're not found, and that helps you to focus your thinking. An agent once sent me a letter that says, here's a 22-unit apartment building, you want to buy it? And I says, yeah, let's make an offer. He said, I didn't really mean that. I was just sending you that letter to keep my name in front of you because I know you're an active purchaser, but this seller is impossible to deal with. Forget him. I says, no, deals are made, they're not found. Set up an appointment with the seller. I'll do all the talking and I'll make the deal. And we did. There was 3 agents, the seller and I, five guys in a room. And so the seller says, the market is down right now. Interest rates are up, vacancies are up. It's hard to get a bank loan. I'll use my connections. I'll get a bank loan. You just inherited this property. Anyway, we'll get a 50% loan on the property. You get a little cash and you carry back the balance. He says, okay. That was too easy. I said to myself, you know what? There's a little downturn in the economy. I could use a little extra cash. Why don't you loan me $100,000 out of your proceeds? He says, okay, I'll pay you 6% interest for 10 years. He said, okay. The jaws almost fell off all the other agents. Had I told them ahead of time how I was going to do this, they wouldn't have allowed it. They would not have allowed it. They're thinking some money down, you go to the bank and that's it. You give the seller whatever he wants.
Amazing.
So that's anybody can do that. So I'm just watching the seller, watching everybody, just getting a feel for what I could push. I knew I could push this one.
Amazing. Well,
and it also means, the price I paid for it was irrelevant. It was the low point in the market. I paid him top price at a low point in the market. Big deal. So you can add zeros to that. You can do this for 100 million at a crack, which I do. Same thing, same process.
And people who are prone to panicking, they would have looked at that set of circumstances and said, oh no, I could never do that. But you forged ahead and it turned out to be a great deal, right?
Right. Because economic downturns are cyclical. And there's always a reason for it. It's always the same reason. It's an overextension of credit. Every time there's a bust in any market, people have been pushing up prices. They've been pushing up prices because they're borrowing the money from banks. Subprime loans, people were getting loans they had no business getting. They didn't qualify for them. Clinton says, I don't care. Everybody in this country should own a home. He told Fannie Mae, buy up all those subprime mortgages. So if you have a job and your credit is okay, we don't care how much you're earning. Just lie on your application, and we'll make you the loan. So people had loans that are way over their head, and then when they caught up, they lost them.
Yeah.
That's the 2008 financial crisis.
Well, I just want to take a moment. I have a follow-up question there, but I just want to remind people, if you're listening or watching or both, hopefully, this is A San Francisco Conservative, the new podcast series featuring my friend David Parker, who is author of Income and Wealth and his latest book titled A San Francisco Conservative. And what this prompts me to ask you, David, is you came across a couple of really inspiring examples. I think you said one time you said you read an interesting article in the newspaper, somebody who created a great fortune, speaking of wealth. And then you told me another story about somebody that you worked with when you were getting started in the public elementary schools. And so, we're used to thinking of investors as, Andrew Carnegie or Rockefeller or whatever, but you came across some very interesting examples of what's possible for really the common person, right?
Yeah, there are three examples that really impressed me. One, at the age of 12, I'm sitting at the breakfast table with my parents, and I'm reading the newspaper like as if I know what's going on myself. And I came across an article of a waiter who died at the St. Francis Hotel in San Francisco. And he left a fortune. They dug literally under his mattress. They pulled out not cash, but stock certificates. And he was, at the time, was worth $1 million. And that would have been 1958 or something like that. Maybe that's like 10, 20, or 50 million today. And I said to myself, how is that possible? He's a waiter, but he just bought stocks. He just saved, and he waited his whole life through. He was a waiter until he died. He enjoyed what he was doing. And that was one of the major themes of my first book, Income and Wealth, that they're unrelated. They're two separate matters. Do what you want in life. That's what your income is. And you can save some of it and invest it. And that's what your wealth will be, what you invested. Because your income is gone. So if you spend it all, you'll never have any wealth. And if you're young or you're not sophisticated, you're working at McDonald's, just save half your salary and invest it with leverage in every year for 10 years. Just live a Spartan lifestyle, and you're done. You'll be financially independent in 10 years. You own 10 pieces of real estate, you'll be independent in 10 years. That's even if you overpay for them, it doesn't make a difference. The loans pay off, the rents go up, you add depreciation to you're paying less income taxes. It all works out. Yeah. Unsophisticated, it works out. That was 12 years old. And at 14 years old, I'm at my grandmother's house. She told me that they were war refugees from World War II, from Austria. And he's pacing the house. He's not working. She says, would you get out of the house, get a job, do something? I can't take it anymore. He left, and he came back at the end of the evening. I bought 4 movie theaters. I says, what? He didn't have any money. He bought 4. And that really sunk in too. Hey, he called up some people. Hey, I got a deal. I'll find the deal. You put the money up, we'll split 50-50. Something like that. I'm sure that's what he said. Got 4 movie theaters one day. That made an impression on me. And then when I was starting my teaching job, I had more fun talking to the custodian than I did talking to the other faculty members. And it was one custodian had a little office, and we go in there and we talk. We listen to Pavarotti, and then we debate Italian and French cuisine. I'm going for French, and he's going for Italian. And then he told me, I didn't ask. He says, I'm not doing this job for the money as a custodian. I come in the morning, I turn on the lights, I turn on the heat. I talk to the early morning students, the early morning faculty who come in. I'm just enjoying myself. He says, I own 4 apartment buildings. I'm not doing this for the money. Floored again. That's it. That was it. That was the final straw. Let me figure that one out. And then the oil embargo helped me figure it out, because there was no bank loans and there was no cash around. So don't use cash. There it was. Leverage the whole thing.
Right. Amazing. Amazing. Well, I tell you, I would love to end our episode here on that inspirational note, because again, I know a lot of people panicking and worrying, but I guess that really shows, the power of creativity, whether you're a waiter. Alfred E. Newman. Yeah, exactly. What me worry, right?
I just lost can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can't see you, but okay.
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah. So, but no, those are great stories, and a perfect note to end on today. And I would just encourage our audience to pick up copies again. And I know you've done many interviews, David, and with a lot of people, that seems to be their favorite chapter is the one saying, okay, you're working at a fast food restaurant, you can create wealth. There's no excuse. And it's very inspiring and
Right.
so on. So
it's no excuse. Whatever
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, whatever your job, do what you want in life.
Yep.
Be an artist, open a restaurant. You may not make money. Wealth is another consideration, another category, another field. You learn how to acquire wealth. Nothing to do with your salary or income.
Yeah. That chapter, as they say, that chapter alone is worth the price of the book, if not 10 times. And the rest of the book is fascinating also, as you delve into history and political economy. And your latest book is wonderful also, A San Francisco Conservative. So I encourage people to go to davidparkeressays.com to pick up copies of both of those books, or you can go to amazon.com. So thanks, David. It's great to see you.
Great to see you too. Thank you.